So we have some news in the association, which is not a new thing. It happens damn near every day because the NBA is awesome for content. Bradley Beal is not happy at the moment in Washington. He said he doesn't want to keep losing, and there were some other things I saw about the Wizards' culture or whatever that Beal was not okay with. This was all reported by David Aldridge. Beal did have one post-game interview that wasn't exactly glowing. So, what does this all mean? I mean, we all know that Beal, to surprise of many, chose to extend his contract with the Wizards, and you could view it as effectively a one-year extension because he can't be traded this year, and nothing stops him from getting moved after this, and the guy's not on like a super insane max contract for the next like 6 seasons or whatever, you know? That is coming eventually for him, assuming no big injuries or whatever. So, I mean, that's where your mind immediately goes to. If you're not a Wizards fan, the idea of, you know, maybe this guy would ask to be moved this offseason. But if we move beyond that and we look at, like, what could Beal possibly have a problem with besides the obvious of the team just isn't that good? Well, I think an interesting thing to point out is part of the reason why the Wizards have been losing a little bit lately might be because Bradley Beal has not been great. He has been missing a lot of shots, and we can argue for why that is, whether it's the fact that he's been in and out of the lineup a bit over the past like 2 weeks or so, the fact that he's having to shoot a whole bunch of threes that aren't just catch and shoot, open shot type of things. But if Beal's not happy, then the dude's still not happy, right? So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's something going on in the Wizards locker room in terms of like a lack of professionalism, or maybe he doesn't like Scott Brooks as a coach. I mean, this team is, at the moment, 11th in offense, and they were top 10 in offense for a while. So, I don't really know. I don't know what the exact thing would be for Beal. It might just simply be they're losing, but he likes everything else going on. There's no real way for us to know about that. I mean, looking at the personnel, I don't think there's any like super large personality guys here. It seems like a bunch of guys who just kind of keep their head down and do what they're supposed to do. I mean, you do have a second-year guy in Troy Brown and a rookie in Rui, and that can be sometimes frustrating to play with those types of guys, but you've also got dudes who have been around for a while, and Ish and Isaiah is, you know, proving himself to still be an NBA player this season. So what I'm getting at is I don't know if there's some sort of a move that the Wizards could make that could just flip the team chemistry if the chemistry is apparently a problem or something. I mean, I wouldn't really think it is because, I mean, you remember when Bertans was going crazy from three? It seemed like, you know, the bench was all getting behind him and stuff, and the team seemed to be liking each other. So I don't know if something drastically changed or if that was not representative of how the team really felt about each other, but I don't know. It really just might be a matter of they're losing and that's it. And I mean, one thing that was said on Twitter by a few people, and I mean, they're not necessarily wrong, is Beal signed up for this. Nobody thought this team was going to be that good. Also, I don't think the Wizards front office has done a lot over the past couple of years to prove that they are really, really good. I mean, they basically just gave up on Kelly Oubre for Trevor Ariza, which I should have criticized more in the moment. Going down their draft pick situation the past few years, I mean, it's not like god-awful. Like, they got Rui this year. He seems okay. Troy Brown, I'm higher on him than maybe I should be, but I still think he can be something. And Otto in 2013, like, we can view Otto Porter as a disappointment, but that draft, especially the top 10, wasn't very good. Like, you could argue Otto was still the right pick for them, because after him it was like Cody Zeller, Alex Len, Nerlens Noel, Ben McLemore, so take that for whatever you will. But still, there hasn't been a lot of like amazing under-the-radar moves. I mean, they got Bertans. That was a move. Credit to them for that one. Thomas Bryant seems interesting, but again, I wouldn't say this front office has knocked it out of the park. They haven't been a disaster, but if you want to get into the nitty-gritty, you might be able to come out of the other side of it and be like, they haven't been as good as they probably could have been over the past 5 years or so. Now, again, like, John Wall's hurt, so that makes all this a little tougher. But I don't know, man. Beal is obviously upset. So what is that going to mean? I mean, again, maybe Scott Brooks would have to be out if the Wizards were that desperate to keep Beal, which, I mean, I would be. Like, an average head coach can be replaced. A dude who averages 27 a game and is typically one of the best shooters in the league and stuff, that's a little tougher to get equal value for in any sort of a move or anything. Now, what I wonder is if the Wizards project that they're going to have to do something right now to get Beal happy, do they get aggressive with a move that could help them win right now? I mean, is it even worth it when you're 15 games under 500? Probably not. Well, I won't say probably not, but it depends on what you have to trade, and all their assets would be young players or Bertans, and I mean, I think they should keep Bertans because I think he's like one of the things that's keeping them going here. But it's like, you're not going to trade Rui, you're not going to trade, well, you could trade Troy Brown, maybe you're just off on him. But if it's not that, then I mean, I don't think you're moving a first round pick. Like, no team under 500 by this much should ever be thinking about trading a first round pick unless it's lottery protected and then it becomes like a couple of seconds or something. But these guys' second round pick situation is kind of bad until 2024. But at the same time, like, a Wizards second rounder is probably better than your average second round pick, and could even be better than a late first round pick because you don't have to pay the guy as much. So, okay, maybe that's something. But what is that going to get you? I don't know, man. I mean, you still have Mahimi's contract. That's kind of about it, unless you want to move a player who's actually good. So then it's like, okay, $15 million for Mahimi, a couple of seconds. That could get you like a decent, competent wing or something. Is it going to turn your whole season around? I would think no. So we'll have to see what the Wizards think about doing with all of that. If we project to the nightmare scenario for the Washington Wizards, it would be, of course, that Beal wants to get traded. And I mean, we had this conversation a lot this previous offseason. Beal surprised all of us by saying, nope, I'm going to extend with the Wiz, but now we, of course, have the reason why I'm doing this video, because the guy said some things. So, would the Beal trade thing just be wide open? Because if that's the case, I mean, a lot of teams would love to have a two-guard in his mid-20s who can knock down threes among the best of them, and is under contract for, well, if it was this offseason, it would be 2 more years. Then you'd have a player option for $37 million, which he'd probably decline to get the max, but you know, that's a damn good guy. I mean, you're talking about, what, 28-year-old Bradley Beal making, I don't know, 40-something million. I mean, assuming that he's going to continue to be like a near 30-point scorer on efficient stuff, and he's getting better as a playmaker, then yeah, that's probably worth the money. As far as teams that I think could make a run at him, I mean, damn near everybody, I would assume. Miami, definitely. I think the Pacers could work something out if they wanted to get off of one of their bigs. I mean, I like Turner and Sabonis, but if you can get Bradley Beal, maybe you'd just do it. I'm sure Philly would love to have him, even with all the moves that they've made. Orlando would be desperate to get his perimeter scoring. All of us were talking about a potential Denver move the whole offseason. Dallas would be pretty wild. But one thing to be said about all this is a lot of these teams' expiring contracts are, of course, not going to be expiring once this season ends. And that is when Beal can actually be moved. So that does throw a bit of a something into any sort of trade thing you want to talk about. Like, I'll use Dallas for an example. They've got Courtney Lee's $12.7 million contract, but it's done after this season, and that would be their way to fill salary if they wanted to get Beal or whoever else. And you could say that for a lot of teams, so that'll all be interesting. But if Beal's available, which, you know, a few things have to happen before we're thinking about that, but if it does get to that point, then it could be kind of like an arms race in the NBA to get the dude. But again, seems like he wants to be with the Wizards. He would not have extended if he didn't. And I guess this is, whether intentional or not, is kind of like a bat signal to the organization of, you guys might have to do some things in order to convince Beal to want to hang around. Granted, he's under contract, so they could just simply not move him, but we know how that can go. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if the Wizards can turn it around this season. We'll see if they make any moves. I'm trying to decide if he was actually going to get moved, if it would be in the offseason or if it would be the next trade deadline. Maybe the Wizards would just want to stretch it out for as long as they possibly can. I don't know. I think that would depend on Beal's patience, how promising the team would look with John Wall coming back next year, and various other things. So we'll see how it all goes.